Beautiful man. Wonderful. Okay. Thanks, mate. Kevin, teach.
Okay, so Shidduch, another chapter goes into Shidduchim, and it discusses Abraham and Eliezer, which is actually this week's parsha of Chaya Sarah. After Sarah passes away, Abraham wants to find a wife for Yitzchak. So it says here, there's a global Shidduch crisis at the moment. Well, it's been for the last 3 years, the last couple of years. They call it a crisis because people give inaccurate information on many issues such as family and references, and rabbinical leaders, the rabbis and psychologists and therapists are not impressed by this situation, and criteria, inappropriate criteria used to determine who's appropriate and who's an appropriate match for one son or daughter, as well as the monetary demands that have darkened the entire process. I mean, it's all like people do a dating profile and you send it to Shadchanim, and it's based on theoretical stuff, not people meeting face to face and getting a feel if they are suited. So that's what they're saying, and but it's the whole process, unfortunately, has been isn't what according to what is true, what the true essence of it should be. And it says Parashas Chaya Sarah is where Yitzchak meets Rivka at the well, and basically he looked at her midot. She was only about, I think, 5 years old, and she had the amazing strength and fortitude to give water to the camels. I mean, she went beyond her. It was like she had superhuman strength at that age to feed all those. I mean, to give them to drink. So he looked at that attitude of that midah of kindness. That's what was the most impressive midah, and it says here basically also because he wanted someone who was similar who had a similar midah to his mom, to Sarah, and that was the overriding thing, the midah of kindness and the chesed, which are very important traits in trying to find a potential life partner, spouse.
I agree. Well, please God, my bracha to you for all your learning is that your reward is in the next world, and you get a marriage sentence in this world. And
Gavin Stoller and other single people who are looking for their love partner.
And to all you guys, but also the reason why I married Nadine, okay, I married her because she's strong. I need somebody to carry the luggage when we went on holiday.
Yeah, Arthur, on a serious note, I remember going to the beach with you, and you were lumbered with the luggage for all the kids and Nadine and me and everything else. Yeah, and you just had heart problems, and he just came out of ICU and Arthur schlepping all the baggage.
Yeah, I know. I remember it quite well. The palpitation, the excitement.
Well, I'll tell you something. Yeah. If you think that's amazing, so my ex-wife, and I shouldn't really bring this up here, but let me tell you something. Somebody started with me. I was about to hit this oak. It was at a cool place in Sea Point. I was about to hit the guy, and she hit him before I hit him. You can't believe it. She knocked the oak out. You got no idea. She was so livid that this guy was starting with me. I promise you, I took my hand back. I was about to clap. She got him before. Unbelievable. Right? Anyway, so we all marry. When you marry, you got to marry strategically.
That's amazing, man. That's
No,
like
you got to marry strategically. Now I want somebody who can learn Gomorrah for me because I don't have the health for it. So if I can find a
listen.
chick that
Now
can
you
do that.
might need somebody that can actually box for you because you don't have the health for it. She was the
No,
warrior
I actually want
princess.
somebody who can catch me. So when I get knocked out, they can actually catch me, and I don't hurt my back and throw my back off and all that type of stuff.
Right, but listen, I hope with like David Melech that we learned that he married Abigail, that she was much younger than him. She was, I think, 50 years younger than him, or 40. So, Gavin, I hope you marry a girl in her 20s, man. Good luck.
No, I don't want that brocha.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
not
it's
going
the
to happen,
brocha. I
man.
think
It's impossible.
it
We're not
doesn't
Jeff Bezos
work,
or
guys.
Bill Gates here. It's not going to happen.
And listen,
It's
I'm
not,
quite.
even if you're Bill Gates, it's not worth it. You'll get it if you Bill Gates, but it's not worth it. It's not real. It's not a real relationship. It's terrible.
It's terrible. I think it's quite happy within 10 years or 15 years younger maximum. That's fine.
15 is maximum. A Kiva Brett
Yeah.
once told me there's something inside somewhere. He heard a sure that you do something, it works out to be about 15 years to be the absolute.
And even 10 years is like pushing it.
10 years is ideal.
Yeah,
10 years is what
yeah.
10 years is where you should actually start your targeting. 15 years is like
Yeah, the 15 is a bit
there.
off. It's way off.
It's a
But
bit off.
it does change one thing, guys, before we start the Gemara share. I tell you when it does change is that when she's a bit older and you're a bit older, it works a little bit better because her prospects are not as dynamic as they were. She's matured a lot more. You provide other things in the party, and she's past that clubby, trendy stage. Depends on the moral value. Also, depends on the value system, because if you're marrying somebody with good values, you're fine because you're marrying the value system. You're not. She's not in a hypergamy mode. All right, guys, let's get started.
But just before you start, you are under quite a bit of pressure. Just remember one thing. My battery's running now. I just need to sort this out. Sorry. Have I got no power here?
Have you got load shedding, Gav?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to work. No, I don't. So why's my battery? Just hold on.
Sure.
No, this thing's.
Gavin, are you going to shoot tonight?
If there's time, if there's no time, I won't go.
No, we will make time.
All right, carry on. I've got it. I've got the battery charging now. Sorry.
Let's share the screen. All right. Gavin, will you read to us?
As soon as it appears. Okay. If one steals pieces of wood and makes them into utensils, or pieces of wool and makes them into garments, he pays their value as of the time of the robbery. If one stole a pregnant cow and it gave birth, or a wool-laden ewe and sheared it, he pays the value of a cow that stands to give birth, or the value of a ewe that stands to be shorn. If one stole a cow and it became pregnant while it was being held by him, or it gave birth, or a ewe and it became laden with wool while it was being held by him and he sheared it, he pays the value as of the time of the robbery. This is the rule. All robbers pay the value as of the time of the robbery. I think that's the bottom line. Right?
Yeah. Okay, so good. All right, so let me just go through a couple of aspects with you guys that you got to know. Look, one who steals is obligated to restore what he stole. That's the bottom line. How do we know that? Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 5, verse 23. And he shall return the stolen article that he stole. Okay, that's what he has to do. In the present case, he pays only the value of the stolen wool or the wool, but he's not required to return the utensils or the garments because he's acquired them through a physical change, guys. We've learned this. Okay, there's something called a physical change. There's something called also a domain change. There's also a change of ownership. There are various states that we have to bear in mind. So the law that a robber acquires a stolen article through physical change is derived from the fact that the Torah states its commandment, okay, that the robber restores the stolen article. So let's look at the words. And he shall return the stolen article that he stole. When you say inverted commas that he stole, that concluding course statement basically means that you don't have to say it twice. In other words, if I'm saying, you shall return the stolen article that he stole, the word that he stole is superfluous. You don't need it. All you have to say is return the stolen article. So what is it coming to expound? That the requirement to return the stolen article itself applies only when the stolen article is in fact the exact article that he stole. In other words, exactly the same form, etc. If it underwent a physical change, it's no longer recognizable as the article that he stole. So he doesn't have to return the article itself, but he can't keep it, okay? Because then that would be an allowance for anybody to steal something, change it, and keep it. So what does it mean is he has to pay its cash value at the time of the robbery. So he doesn't get away with it scot-free. He has to pay, but he doesn't have to return the original article. Okay, so the concept underlying the robber's legal acquisition of the stolen article through change is that his original act of stealing the article accords him, is this term, the acquisitions of robbery. So in other words, it would suffice for him to acquire the article as his own. But because the Torah makes an obligation that he return the stolen article to the owner. Okay? So in other words, if you steal it, it becomes yours. But the main thing of it is, because you could say, listen, why can't we just steal it and give the cash equivalent? The Torah says, look, it also has a specific word and words, and it says that the stolen article itself, only if it's still in existence or extant, as the Gemara says, does it have to be returned? Because it's always preferable to return the article as opposed to money. Why do you think, guys?
Well, the owner might want it back. I mean, it might have sentimental value. So
Exactly. Many things are worth far more. I mean, if you bought something, it's because you made a conscious decision to switch cash, which could buy anything, for that. Therefore, that was your mode of choice. And also, as Gavin quite rightly put, that I didn't even think of, there might be, because I'm not a sentimental guy, there might be sentimental value that he inherited it from a late parent, or it has a term of affection. So it's not about the article, it's about the sentimentality of it. So Gavin, that's a good point I didn't even think about.
Yeah. But even when you purchase and you make that purchase and you got a choice of 3 different microwaves to buy, you're buying something that you happen to like. So it does have sentimental value in a way to you as well. Maybe not to you personally, but people are different. But for me, it does. I've got a, what's it called, air fryer here, and it's sentimental. If that gets stolen, I'll be very upset.
No. You're mixing preferential value with sentimentality.
Yeah, I probably am. You're right. Okay, you're right. I am. All right, Carry on. I
am. So preferential, Gavin brought up 2 good points. Preferential means you had money which gave you options. You sacrificed options for a choice at which would suit your lifestyle. That's a preferential choice. Then sentimental is if it has value other than the article by the one who gave it to you.
It's not replaceable, basically.
It's not replaceable. That's exactly the problem. So, all right. So what does the Torah do? It obligates you to return the stolen article itself only if it's still in existence. Obviously, if it no longer exists, you still have to make restitution. But when we say it no longer exists, we don't mean it disappeared, got stolen, got broken. We meant there's a physical change. So it doesn't resemble that which you stole. So guys, if you take wood and make it into a chair, it's no longer considered the original wood, but a new and different item, a chair. So when the stolen article undergoes a change, the original is considered no longer in existence, no longer extant. And the robber himself, he's not liable to return the article itself like the pieces of wood, only its value. So in the absence of an obligation to return the stolen article itself, he has acquired that article as a result of his original acquisition of robbery and the changes thereof. However, he has to make financial restitution. And he never gets away with it in Shemaim. So, guys, these laws are concerning a gazla for robbery, okay? Not Not
Ganef.
for, not a gunner. A guzzler is a robber. A ganeva is a case of robbery. But the laws are actually derived from robbery. Okay. As far as theft is concerned, the stolen article, only if it's not changed. Otherwise, he pays his value at the time of theft, in addition to other penalties, etc. But we'll go through in certain other chapters, what does it mean, this concept of a shinoi, a change, etc. We're gonna go through it.
We've done some of it as well, eh? We covered it early on. I remember also some of it.
Yes, we did. In the 65th daf, in the 67th daf, I was in the Mams and Toti. Do you remember?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly, but I remember covering it. I don't know which stuff, but I trust you if you say that's what it was. And you
well, it's from 65B to 67A. It's there. Okay.
We definitely covered it. I remember.
What you guys are going to find interesting is they talk about 3 different types of dyes, which is quite interesting in this year, in this part soon.
Exactly. So then we go to this next part about a pregnant cow, if it gave birth, or the ewe that was like kind of never grew its wool, and at that time when the thief had it, it gave birth, and we're discerning two different things. Did a pregnancy take place? Was there wool, etc.? So look, basically the difference between the previous and present value of the calf that was pregnant and now gave birth, or fleece, belongs to the robber, because he acquired it through physical change. Meaning, we're talking about if you stole a cow and it became pregnant while he had it captive, and then it gave birth, because the state that it was in was not pregnant when it was with the original owner. So he's entitled to keep that. Okay, but he can, the question is, he gives the money equivalent of the cow. Does he give back the cow? And as far as the ewe is concerned, if it became like somebody with a haircut, it didn't have wool, and the wool grew and it became laden with wool, and he sheared it, he only pays the value at the time of the robbery. So we imply in that case that he gets the benefit. So if you have a look at the Rashi, is the robber acquires only the born calf or the shorn wool, but not the cow or the ewe itself, because that hasn't undergone a physical change. So basically, guys, when the Mishnah states that he pays the value of the cow ready to give birth, or the value of the ewe ready to be shorn, it doesn't mean that he pays that whole amount in cash. The first choice that he has, both for the owner and for himself, is to return the animal in its present state. Okay? Plus an additional amount of cash, according to Rashi, to bring the total to the value of the pregnant cow or the wool-laden ewe. Okay, because if the cow is worth 100 zuz, a pregnant cow is worth 130 zuz, and a calf is worth 50 zuz. So let's just work this out. So if he stole a pregnant cow, then gave birth while it was in his possession, he would return the cow itself and pay 30 zuz difference. So he keeps the 50 zuz calf. So he's benefiting from 20 zuz. Okay, guys, can you give it over to me? Kevin, give it over to me, and then I'll get Arthur too.
I'll try. Okay, so if a guy steals a cow, a pregnant cow.
Yep.
Or did it become pregnant after he stole it, or was it pregnant when he stole it?
No, well, if it becomes pregnant after he stole it, there's nothing to talk about because it was never in a pregnant state, so you can't work that out in the calculation.
Okay, so it was pregnant when he stole it, so
yeah.
I don't know how many months into the term, whatever. So if it gives birth to the calf, he can keep the calf. He has to return the cow and pay the value of the calf to the owner who he stole it from.
No.
So you can keep it.
Let's do this again. The cow itself is worth 100 zuz, okay, in a non-pregnant state. So if he stole it, Kevin, when it wasn't pregnant, and at his place he had a bull and the two of them spent quality time together, well, he can keep the proceeds of the calf because it was never in a pregnant state before. Because a non-pregnant cow, for example, is worth 100 zuz. But This case, he stole a pregnant cow, which has the potential at worth 130 zuz. Why only 130 if the calf is worth 50 or 110? Because depending upon when the pregnancy term is, the fetus could be aborted. There could be a miscarriage. So, whatever the term is, I'm just giving you a surmising idea. Say that the calf is worth 50 zuz, and the term is 5 months gestation. I don't know, Cal. I mean, I know animal husbandry like I know about laundromats. I mean, what do I know about that business? So what I'm saying is, say the cow's a 5-month gestation period. I don't bloody know. But just say it's got 5 months, right? So it gains like 10 zuz a month in terms of value as it gets closer to the birth because it's reaching its potential. Do you get what I'm saying? Kev, have I lost you?
Yeah.
Have I lost you? Look.
I'm not, my mind's all over.
I know. That's
a pregnant cow is worth more than a normal cow. Has a potential.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is a cow's worth, say a cow's worth 100 zuz. Say the calf's worth 50 zuz. Okay, say there's a 5-month gestation period. I don't know what it is. But then it means that the cow, as a pregnant cow, is accruing a monthly feel of maybe 10 zuz a month as she's getting closer to term because there's no miscarriage, nothing's gone wrong. But the truth of it is, if there is a miscarriage, well, what happens? Well, then they've still got meat from the fetus, which in those days they weren't squeamish like we are. They'd eat it. It just wouldn't become a Betsy the cow that pulled a cart anymore. It would be Betsy the state dinner, the calf. So all I'm saying is, look, non-pregnant cow, let's keep it simple, 100 zuz. It's not pregnant when the thief stole it. So there's nothing to talk about. His bull made it pregnant, the robber or the thief. And now it had a calf with 50 zuz. He keeps that and he returns the original cow to the owner. Fine.
Brian, hi, sorry, I'm in the Zoom share. Are you having a problem?
Today, milk and something from Melrose.
Say it again?
Some guy was here for
Haven't Damon put him on silent?
Myron, I know him, yes. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. No, he's not the sheriff. He's a mate of mine. It's 100%. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Sorry, I can't chat now because I'm in the Zoom. Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem. So listen, if the cow is not in a pregnant state, so he returns the cow. If the cow was in a pregnant state, he can't return it in the pregnant state. It's not pregnant anymore, gave birth. But he gets to keep the calf. So you say, well, why does he get to keep 50? Because a non-pregnant cow could be worth 100 zuz, and a pregnant cow is worth 130 zuz. So he doesn't have to give 130 zuz back cash. All he has to do, guys, is return the 100 zuz cow plus that extra value in cash of the pregnant state, which is 30 zuz or 20 zuz or 10. So in other words, he returns the cow non-pregnant, he keeps the calf, and gives that extra little added value of what it was worth pregnant. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
Yep.
Kev, are you okay? It
Yeah.
seems as if it seems as if you're fatigued. Are you absorbing anything?
Yeah,
Dave?
most things.
Like when a woman falls pregnant, the fatter they get, the more value they get while they're getting pregnant. While the baby, while they're getting what?
You don't mean from physical aesthetical point of view. You mean from a spiritual?
Yeah, they eat more. They develop more. They get bigger. They gain weight.
That costs you more. That's not bigger value.
Yeah, I'm saying it. No, we discussed about the damages on a fetus and etc. when a pregnant woman loses a baby, right? That was what we discussed in the past. Something similar.
No, the discussion in the past was no. The discussion in the past was not a human baby, but Arthur's right. He's referring to not a wife. Were you talking about a wife or a cow?
I'm talking about a woman. It's a pretty similar thing, but
no.
Not a two-legged cow.
About a woman, that's inaccurate. What we talked about before that Arthur alluded to is that what happens if you fatten up a cow when you steal it and it accrued higher value. That was an issue of did you feed it? And do you have to get reimbursed for the feeding that you've done? Or does the original owner get to keep it? We've done all of that. But let's just keep to the issue of hand. And this Gemara is talking about physical change. I don't want to go back to subjects that we've done.
So, Damon, so basically, the guy must give back the value of a pregnant cow. That's it.
But he can't. He can't, because he doesn't have 130 cash, and they're not asking him to give back the cash, because the default position is return what you stole.
He gives the cow back. That's it. Okay.
He gives the cow,
he keeps
plus,
the calf. That's
yeah, it. But he has to give that extra value of the pregnancy. So if it was worth 100 zuz and a pregnant cow's worth 130, he gives the 30 zuz and keeps the calf for 50 zuz for himself. It could be that a pregnant cow's only worth 115 zuz. Whatever the difference is between the pregnant and the non-pregnant state, he gives in cash, because he can't suddenly make the cow pregnant again.
So he gives the cow plus 30 zuz.
Well, whatever the pregnant, whatever the value deficit
to make up the value, yeah, had it been pregnant, if it was pregnant, yeah.
Correct. So that's that's the main thing. Okay. Now, according to Rashi, it's only the calf that is considered as actually having undergone a physical change. In other words, it went from the state of a fetus to a calf. The cow itself is the same as the cow before. The fact that it was previously carrying a load, in this case a fetus, and it's no longer carrying that load, doesn't constitute a physical change. That's why he has to return the cow. It's not considered enough of a physical change that he can keep the animal. Do you get what I'm saying? That's the whole question at hand. Because you're saying, hang on, it's different with a piece of wood that turns into a chair. It changes physically. You say, but cows change physically because it was pregnant. But it cannot be. Let me explain to you why. If it was pregnant when he stole a pregnant cow. If he gives it non-pregnant, it's still the same cow. The only thing you calculate is the difference between what existed and what doesn't. And that's the extra load and the value of the load it was carrying. But you still have to return the original item. Otherwise, you just get to keep the cow and give the money equivalent. So similarly, the shearing of an ewe doesn't constitute a change in the actual ewe itself, guys. It's like you kidnap somebody. You know, they started off and they had their hair cut in a number one, and when they found this guy by ISIS a year later, he had a beard and and he looked like a hippie from all his hair growing. But he hasn't changed in value. Just needs a haircut. The same with the ewe. So what's changed in value? Not the ewe itself, it's the wool. And that was transformed into a separate entity. It's not part of the animal itself. It grew from the animal. But it's like almost produce that grows from the ground. That's a separate value to the value of the ground. So is wool from a cow. But the Rosh maintains differently to Rashi. He maintains that the birth or shearing is actually regarded as a change in the body of the cow, the ewe itself. So the Rosh is different to Rashi, and he maintains that the robber keeps both the cow and the calf, and he pays the entire 130 zuz value of the pregnant cow in cash. In the case of the ewe, he keeps both the ewe and its shorn wool and pays in cash the value of the wool-laden ewe. Okay? So how could there be such a difference? Well, quite simple. The language is basically the value of the cow that stands to give birth. That's the value, that's the term of the Mishnah, right? And it says the value of the ewe that stands to be shorn. So that suggests that a robber pays the value of the cow at the moment before birth, and the value of the actual ewe at the moment before shearing. So that is whatever the fetus or unshorn wool increases in value between the time of the robbery and the birth of the shearing belongs to the original owner. Because the increase occurred while the fetus or unshorn wool still belonged to him. Because this animal was ready to be shorn, ready to give birth. That's according to the Rosh. Well, that's according to Rashi. The Rosh, however, asserts that a robber pays only the value of the fetus or the unshorn wool at the time of the robbery. So the increase between the time of the robbery and the time of change, in other words, either a birth or a shearing, belongs to the robber. Because once the robber acquires the original article through change, his payment obligation reverts to paying the value of the article at the time of the robbery, right? He doesn't give back the original item. And sharing the appreciated wool is not akin to breaking the appreciated barrel of wine. Because remember, guys, we learned where Rabba ruled that a robber pays according to the higher value at the time of the breakage. That's when it stole it and the wine went up in value, whatever the case may be. But this is different because the wool remains intact. It might have changed that it grew a bit, etc. So the reason why the Mishnah uses the expression a cow ready to give birth, or you ready to be shorn, is as follows, right? You will sometimes buy a cow that is pregnant because wish to slaughter it as it is and use the skin or the meat of the fetus. Guys, that's the comment of the Gemara. We're living in a different time. Guys get squeamish. I mean, there's animal rights people. I remember we once served these tiny little birds, these poissons, these tiny little birds like pigeons or whatever. And we had guests and they wouldn't eat it because they thought we cruelly killed something that was very young. Whereas I thought it tasted delicious. But anyway, you'll sometimes buy a wool-laden ewe because you wish to use that wool on the animal immediately. For some reason, I don't know why, but the Gemara is saying that. Okay? Doesn't matter whether the cow is pregnant or the ewe's got wool-laden and it was bought for those purposes. It's worth less than a pregnant cow bought eventually to produce live offspring, guys. Or a wool-laden ewe brought eventually to produce full-grown wool, because it hasn't reached that stage where the fetus is born into a calf. Now, that's worth more, because now you've got an animal that can actually work for you. You've got fully grown wool that has reached its potential value. So the Mishnah is teaching that when we assess the value of a pregnant cow or a wool-laden ewe at the time of the robbery, we assess it according to the higher value of a pregnant cow that stands to give birth, or a ewe that stands to be shorn after the wool is fully grown. Okay? So that's what you've got to bear in mind, okay?
So you're actually paying like an upfront premium, man.
You are. Well, in a way you are, but in a way.
But no, it's fair though. You shouldn't steal.
Well, that's exactly it. You're not paying a premium. You're paying for it because you happen to get it at the worst stage, which is why I'm going to say something. Generally, one doesn't hire people in November because you have to give them December or January bonuses if they're part of like a Fortune 500 company or whatever. And if you hire young female people in your law firm and you want them to become Kabb partner, when she becomes pregnant, there goes your law firm. Okay, that's going to get me banned off. But you get what I'm saying. Whatever the situation is the situation. So according to Rashi, guys, in the previous note, you return the cow or the ewe itself, which is presently in the same state as it was at the time of the robbery. Okay? Which means you have to make financial restitution only on the difference. According to the Rosh, the robber keeps both the cow and the calf, or the ewe and the shorn wool, and pays in cash the value of a non-pregnant cow or shorn that he's wanted to steal. You get what I'm saying? So the case of a cow that becomes pregnant while the robber's possession and didn't give birth, or an ewe that became laden with wool while in the robber's possession and was not yet born, is still going to be discussed in the Gemara. All right, guys, I think we've done enough. We've got 2 minutes left, and I hope this has been handy. Yeah.
Damon, I can make sure. Thank you.
All right.
So the ewe, I mean, the unshorn ewe, basically the owner of the sheep before it was stolen was going to make money off it, or was going to get some benefit from it. So that was taken away by the thief.
No, it wasn't taken away, because the two opinions are, the one opinion would be that you return the original animal and you pay the difference between the pregnant and non-pregnant state. Okay? And the other option is that you give the cash equivalent for everything and you don't return the animal because it's had a significant change. And there's another opinion of the Rosh, it seems to be, that you don't pay it for, you pay it for what it was worth at the time of the robbery, and the robber gets to keep the proceeds without slight differences, etc. Okay, I think I need to just look into it more, but it seems that I'm going to check it. I don't want to misquote.